up, let's jump into the talk tonight. The Panthers, as we talked last week, and the title of the show, I think last week, was Frank Reich continues to fill out coaching staff. The big news last week was Ejiro Evero. We heard that Deuce Staley was going to be a part of the staff. We may not have known in the official capacity, but since then, there have been some new names that have been added to this puzzle.
Some new names. Holy cow.
Oh, yeah. And they're old names too. New or old names, I do not know. Today, let's start with the biggest news of the day. And that is the Carolina Panthers have hired Jim Caldwell as a senior offensive assistant. The interesting part about this is they were interviewing him as a potential head coach. And I always make the joke that this is Black Frank Reich. These guys are both very, very similar in the type of candidate that both of them are. And maybe I think Frank Reich has more because I think he was a quarterback. Oh, I know he was a quarterback. I don't know what Jim Caldwell, if he played in the NFL, his status at that point, but both offensive coordinators on teams that have won Super Bowl championships. Both have had successful records as head coaching. And Jim Caldwell even declined interviews for offensive coordinator positions. One requested by the Washington Commanders, our former coach Ron Rivera. Jim Caldwell said no, he was only fielding head coaching offers. We then hire Frank Reich. Frank Reich has now hired the guy that is basically him. It's awesome. I told you guys I would have been happy with Jim Caldwell as our head coach. I would have been happy with Frank Reich as our head coach. I even said, hey, let's hire Jim Caldwell and make Frank Reich the offensive coordinator. Well, guess what we did? We did basically that. They're the same person, and I'm so happy.
So, yeah, to make it official, Jim Caldwell has been hired by the Carolina Panthers. He added more experience and more perspective to this staff. They have agreed to terms with Jim Caldwell to become a senior assistant. He will report directly to Reich and will help the team on offense, defense, and special teams. The 68-year-old Caldwell was one of 9 coaches to interview for the Panthers head coach opening, and the second from that group to join Reich's staff, along with defensive coordinator Ejiro Evero. So Caldwell wasn't very high on my list of head coaches, but I'm definitely happy that he's a part of this organization. And I think that when you look at what the Panthers are doing, as I said earlier, David Tepper has gone from a strategy of letting a guy like Matt Rule bring all of his college cronies with him into the NFL to really making sure that every single hire has a guy with a proven track record in the NFL. This might be one of the most tenured coaching staffs that the Panthers have ever had by the time this whole thing is said and done.
Or in the entire NFL period right now, honestly.
Yeah, we're killing it. And also, let's be real. Most of these hires came out of nowhere. I don't think anybody would have told you that the Panthers were the front runners to land any of these men before they signed with us. And yet here they are. So I think it's a testament to, one, David Tepper hearing, all the noise and making some adjustments into what he has done as an owner. But I feel like it's also a testament to Frank Reich and the sentiment around the NFL of what coaches believe about Frank Reich and his abilities as a head coach. And I kind of feel like the sentiment is around the NFL that the Panthers are building something special.
CK, I was going to bring this up. There's two things. One is like he's talking about that experience, right? We didn't have that under Matt Rule. This team, though, the experience that they are adding, so they're adding guys like Deuce Staley, they're adding guys like Dom Capers, we're adding Jim Caldwell. Cody's saying it's us building something special in Carolina, but the one I don't disagree with that. Frank Reich, though, is respected enough by these individuals to join him. That's the thing right here, is that you could put in, that means that Jim Caldwell and these guys have enough confidence in Frank Reich to become part of his staff. That's my first thing to UCK. As you see these types of names and the pedigree that comes with them, it does bring us some confidence in what other people think about Frank Reich.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue the fact that we're getting a lot of big names. If I'm being honest, there is a part of me that is concerned with all of these big names being on the same team, and how that's going to work out. I'm excited, and I think it's giving us something to look forward to. But I also think there is a potential for some of these guys to butt heads, because the truth of the matter is, I think all of them have their own vision of what they want this team to be, and I would like to think that the interview process washed away a little bit about what each, and they're all kind of somewhat cohesive in what they want. But that would be my main concern about it, is just there's a lot of pieces right now, and I'm hoping that they can go together and work well together. But as of right now, we're just in the holding pattern and see how it works.
I saw someone point this out, Greg, is that the fact that two of these people had interviewed for the Panthers head coaching position, right? So Frank Reich interviewed, obviously he got it. Jim Caldwell was the first interview. Giro Evero, the defensive coordinator we brought in, that hot name, also was interviewed for the head coaching position. Then you hear Josh McCown being last year kind of flirted with by Houston as a head coaching position. Right. So you hear some of these. Someone put this, and I thought this was a great point, is that this is a sign of guys putting away their egos and kind of coming together. And for me, Greg, I'm not too concerned about the butting heads like CK has said, because I feel like Caldwell is on a position now. If he didn't get a head coaching job this time, he's not going to get one. Dom Capers is as old as whatever. I feel like these guys are ready to rock.
Yeah,
Frank Reich.
I agree. I think that what CK is saying, you may have too many, chefs in the kitchen, but I feel like everybody that we hired is old enough to be able to put their ego aside. They knew what they were going into coming here, and some wanted to come here. We just added 5 Super Bowl coaching rings, or 5 coaches who have won Super Bowl rings with
Capers, right?
Not 5 coaches, 5 rings with 4 coaches.
Right.
Wright, Caldwell, Capers, and Evra have all won Super Bowls as coaches.
Who's won multiple?
Caldwell.
Oh. Yeah. Here, let's talk about that briefly as we continue to discuss the addition. Will he be? What's interesting to me is that they have not announced these positions very clear. They describe it as a senior offensive assistant.
Right.
And Jim Caldwell. The Panthers have been, they made some quick moves when it came to the defensive side of the ball. But I feel like Reich was a little, not vague, but maybe reserving that he really wanted to be in command of the offense in so many ways. Is basically Jim Caldwell working with him in an assistant coordinator capacity, in a sense. Are they blending together, working hand in hand, and we're going to hear that name? Who are you going to really add? And if you add somebody at offensive coordinator right here, are they going to have more pull than Frank Reich and Caldwell in the orchestration of this? I can't believe that. But here's the crazy part, I think, of the Frank Reich and Jim Caldwell combination. They're eerily, they have very similar backgrounds. Both have been head coaches of the Indianapolis Colts. Both have been offensive coordinators who have won Super Bowls. And here's another one for you, is Jim Caldwell and, God, who was our second coach after Capers? Well, there's only Jim Caldwell and one other coach, and he was a coach of the 49ers. I can't remember who it was. He said they are the only 2 coaches, or the last 2 coaches, to go 12-0 to start their coaching career in their rookie season.
Oh, wow. So
Jim Caldwell was on that Peyton Manning team when he took over after them winning a Super Bowl, and they started 12-0 and finished 14-2 or something to that effect. I'll have to look up the. Yeah, I think he was the other one. And And interestingly, Frank Reich started out 1-5, but then in his first year as a coach went on a 12-game winning streak on the back end or something. So like these guys have these weird overlaps of the Colts, these 12-game runs in their first year. Both have got head coaching experience, both offensive coordinators with Super Bowl rings. Man, this is the opposite of the Matt Rule era.
Yeah, agreed.
Paul, I love it. I love it, man. I mean, it's such a different feel. Like it feels like there's a reason to be optimistic with the people in this organization and that they know what they're doing and they have a vision for how they're building this team. You know, I love that. And like I said earlier, I think it speaks volumes about Frank Reich and what people around the league think about him. You know,
agree.
And it gives me hope for the future too, because if these guys are who we think they are, so for example, Ejiro, he's probably going to be a head coach candidate again next year. It makes me feel better about Frank Reich being able to fill these positions after losing people, seeing what he was able to do, you know, in his first year as the head coach of the Panthers. That's a sign of life right there.
I love it. What do we got next on the docket?
Well, we're going to stick with the coaching thing, man. Deuce Staley has been made official. He is the running backs coach. And get this, he is the assistant head coach of the Carolina Panthers. So it is literally the exact same role that he was in with the Detroit Lions, but now he's here with the Carolina Panthers. You know, everybody ranted and raved about what kind of leadership that Detroit Lions coaching staff had most of their year. And a lot of people think that's why the Lions, you know, ended up being a halfway decent team down the stretch. I wanted just to play a clip real quick, just to give you a little piece of what we're getting in our guy, Deuce Staley.
Why you circling me? That's what the vultures do. they just keep circling.
I truly love him,
Yes, love.
but I want to him up between the lines. I'm going to tell you straight up.
Yeah, AG and start right here, baby.
And Deuce, you're absolutely right.
Ain't no doubt.
You want something, we're going to give you something.
Yeah, well, we're going to take it.
We want something, we're going to give you something. We're going to give you everything you want. Let's go, man, compete. I'll compete them. They'll talk.
Stop the screen.
5-yard
Stop
route.
the screen. Oh,
You have
great.
one
Stop the screen.
5-yard route.
Great. Stop the screen.
You want to talk
I'm happy for you.
5-yard route.
I'm happy for you.
You should be.
Yeah, you stop the screen. I ain't heard you
Hey,
all.
thank you, dog.
Now you woke up. You forgot to tell them we playing today. You forgot to tell them we playing today.
Man, y'all had a one play, now you want to talk.
They look scared.
So there he is, man. Deuce Staley, you know, talking a little trash, getting everybody rowdy and motivated. I love the energy that he brings. He has a great pedigree. You know, he seems to be the type of guy that players interact with and identify with. And since he's the running back coach, it really makes you wonder what the future of that position is for us. Do we sign Deontay Foreman to an extension? I know a lot of Panther fans really want that. A lot of people, like myself, were impressed with the continued improvement of Chuba Hubbard. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what we do, but I think that we're better no matter what for having Deuce Staley as our running back coach.
Tons of energy from Deuce Staley. I tell you this, if you watched this Hard Knocks at all, you couldn't help but root for the Lions this year.
Yeah.
You know, like, is that everybody on that coaching staff in particular was endearing. So you go from who's the guy that bites the kneecaps and cries all the time? Their head coach. You know, you don't know if he's going to be a laughing stock. You know, is he something that like is just kind of a funny meme guy? But no, you watch the Hard Knocks, you learn to, I like to like him more, right? Or like respect it and feel like it was authentic. Deuce Staley and that, even the defensive coordinator, they shined. And look kind of how good that, well, not kind of that, how good that offense has been with really marginal talent overall, I would say. My question to you guys before we get to we're about to jump into some cat calls here. Don't forget the numbers 252-228-5098. What the hell is assistant head coach? Think about this. Pull back up the order of all those coaches, guys. And then you like the terminology. This is what he was at the last stop. You see this all over the place. But if you think of this as Reich is obviously the head coach. You think this is the next is offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. I would think in the hierarchy of coaching staffs, but they have now taken guys like Deuce Staley, who are a position coach, and they give him this other tag. What does that mean, Cody? Assistant head coach and running backs coach. Is that something they just tell guys to make them feel like more than a positional coach, or is he really the assistant to Frank Reich?
No, I believe that he is the assistant to Frank Reich, and he is he is essentially the second in command. I mean, that's what it is. If you're the assistant head coach,
like say he got in a car accident, heaven forbid, and he couldn't go out there, would you expect him, Deuce Staley, to take over head coaching responsibilities?
Yes, and you know what? Based on the things that I've seen from him, I would trust him doing so. I think that he's that type of guy. But also, one of the things that you have to also remember about all these new hires, look how many different leaders we have. All of these guys are so respected and they're so trusted that these guys are going to get the job done. It's a next man up mentality. And, I can see why maybe you would think that Jim Caldwell would do it. Him being 68, having a lot of experience, similar age to Frank Reich. And by the way, he's going to be a part of it too. Like, you don't just bring in Jim Caldwell for no reason at all. You know what I'm saying? And like I read earlier, he's going to have a say-so on offense and defense and special teams. So, I'm loving these moves. And yeah, I think that right now, if something were to happen to Frank Reich, Deuce Staley would probably be the guy. And then I'll pass the mic to CK. I think it'll also show how important it is for the Carolina Panthers to continue to run the ball at a high clip. And no matter what, that's going to be a big part of our future moving forward.
I'm trying to see over my name
tag.
Hey, well, hold that thought 1 second, okay? Let me just make sure that I don't miss my guy, David Screws, with the $2. He said, epic staff. Keep pounding, Panther fam. Thank you, David. Go ahead, CK.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's hard to look at that and not get a smile on your face, right? Like, just seeing the experience across the board. I mean, it's... I know that we were optimistic for the most part about Rule, right? But a lot of that was just optimism. Like, this is legit excitement, right? Yeah. Like that's what we're hoping.
We're valid, right? It's more grounded. Like, you could be excited when you buy a lottery ticket, right? But that has such long odds. Or you could be excited when you buy a Harley Davidson and it's going to go up in value next year.
With Matt Rule, you had to believe in something without having any idea what you were believing in.
Right. Yeah.
But
now there's just like a sense of like, oh, we do have a direction, right? We're not just out here getting somebody, hiring people for the sake of hiring them. Like, there's connections, there's legit ability for these guys to develop players into superstars. And I think that's what is exciting about this. I mean, if you're looking at this and you're thinking and you're still pessimistic about the hire and you're still held up on the whole Reich getting the nod and all that, listen, I don't know what else is going to get you excited about this team if you're not looking at this thinking, wow, this is a positive move. These are positive things to see going in this direction. And so, man, again, it's actual excitement, not just optimism.
Yeah. How many shows did we do, guys, last year? And maybe even the year before, where I made you guys listen to me for hours, so not hours, but we would pull up all that coaching staff of the Carolina Panthers. This was back when people were telling me Joe Brady was going to be the next whatever. And I was like, dude, no one here has actually coached in the NFL. And it's not that they don't know how to be coaches or even know football, is that knowing the NFL, the rhythms of the season, what it takes to win, those are real things. And I will tell you, if we were excited about Matt Rule last year with his he was walking the green mile, right? We all knew it. The fact that he was able to even get guys like McAdoo, Tabor, and Campen. Think about this. Tabor and Campen are coming back. The fact that even those guys was surprising. Think about how we were like, oh man, like he actually did his first thing. Reich, these guys are legit. This is legit stuff. Not guys past their prime. And it's guys, it's a good mix. And I tell you this, you look at those teams like the Rams or whatever, they get the young guy. I've always told you, if you get that young up and coming coach, you need a balance of people that have been there before. And you know what? Now we've got, I think our defensive coordinator brings some youth. I think Deuce Staley brings some intensity. You get Josh McCown, who could be the up and comer. And then you get the balance of guys who have been there, done that before. Right. And let's go ahead. CK, highlight our new member and then take us into some cat calls. After he does that, Cody, go ahead and take us into the cat calls.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, we have yet a new member of the C3 Superfan Club. Mr. Meowmeister has said, I want to join the club. I don't want to be left out. I want to be one of the elite members of this club. Well, kudos to you. Welcome to the club.
Welcome. And then, Tony, before we jump into these cat calls, it also doesn't even look like we're done. Jordan Rodriguez, formerly of the Charlotte Observer, she works with the Rams now. She's putting out hearing that the Carolina Panthers intend to bring former Rams DB coach Jonathan Cooley aboard their defensive staff as a DB coach. Cooley, another young assistant, was first hired in 2020 to help Brandon Staley install their new defense and has worked with defensive backs since. Cooley and Evero coordinated the secondary together under Staley and Morris. So we're not even done.
Can you clear one thing up for me on this?
Sure.
Staley is the head coach of the Chargers now, right?
Yeah, but I believe
I keep hearing his name associated with the Rams, so clearly he had to come from there. Because
Brandon Staley was the defensive coordinator for the Rams before he was
right after Wade Phillips.
I think so. Well, no, what was the
Rams, right?
They had I forget his name, the black gentleman. He was the coach for the Chargers in Herbert's first year.
The poor guy, the boring guy.
Yeah, cool dude.
The guy Raheem Morris is with the Rams now.
Yeah, I mean, the point being, there was
with it, and I keep hearing it. Yeah. Clearly, he was. That's all.
Yeah. Staley has a history with these guys. Most of these guys have a history with each other.